This is big. No, seriously, stay with me for a second, because what I'm about to say is going to land different than you expect. People believe you are a thought leader. Not might be, not could become one someday if you just try harder. Believe present tense. Right now, today, there are people in your life, and some you haven't even met yet, who look at you and quietly think, this person sees something the rest of us don't. And here's the part that's going to sit with you for the rest of this video. They don't just believe it. They want to follow you. They've already started. Somewhere in a conversation you were not even in, your name came up and someone said, you should hear what they think about this. That's not flattery. That's not luck. That's a choice. They choose you, not because you demanded it, not because you posted the loudest, not because you had the flashiest anything. They chose you because of something quieter, something you have been doing without even realizing it was working. And by the time we are done here, you're going to understand exactly why. And more than that, you are going to feel it land in your chest, like something finally clicking into place. Okay, so let's talk about what this actually feels like from the inside, because I want you to really sit in this for a second. You know that moment. Maybe it's happened in a meeting, maybe it's happened in a family dinner, maybe it's happened in a group chat, where everyone's talking over each other. Everyone's rushing to get their opinion out first, and you're just quiet. Not because you don't have something to say. You do, of course you do. You almost always do. But you have learned somewhere along the way that the person who talks the most isn't always the person who is actually heard. So you wait, you watch, you observed, you let the noise happen around you, and then there is a gap, just a small one, just enough room. You say the one thing that changes the whole direction of the conversation. And you watch people's faces shift. Yeah, you watch them lean in a little. You watch someone go, wait, say that again. That's not an accident. That's a pattern. That's been happening your whole life, and you probably haven't even clocked it as a thing, because to you, it just feels like being yourself. Here's what nobody tells you about being that person. The one who waits, who observes, who doesn't need to feel every silence. It costs you something. It's lonely sometimes, because while everyone else is out there performing, doing the loud version of confidence, you're sitting back down, doing the quiet version. And quiet doesn't always get noticed in the moment. You've had nights where you wondered if anyone ever sees what you're carrying. You've had moments where you second-guessed whether staying reserved was actually working against you. Whether you should be louder, pushier, more out there, like everybody else seems to be. And you know what? That doubt, that's real. I'm not going to sit here and pretend it isn't. But here's the thing, you don't say out loud to anyone. Even in the middle of that doubt, some part of you never actually wanted to become louder. Some part of you knew, even when you were not sure of anything else, that the way you move through the world was never broken. It was just early. It hadn't been recognized yet. And that's a very different thing than being wrong. Let me give you something concrete, because I don't want to just talk in circles here. Picture this. You are in a room. Could be work, could be friend group, doesn't matter. And somebody brings up a problem. Something messy, something nobody's fully figured out yet. And immediately, 3 or 4 people, depends, 3 or 4 people jump in with quick answers. Confident, fast, definitely sure of themselves answers. And you are sitting there and you notice something to others didn't say. You notice the actual root of it underneath the surface noise. And for a second, you almost don't say anything because everyone else already sounds so certain, and you don't want to be the person who complicates a conversation that seemed simple. But then you speak. Slowly, carefully, you came with this, and you name the thing nobody else named. And the room goes quiet in a different way this time, not awkward quiet, focused quiet. And here's where it gets strange, because that moment, the one where you almost stayed silent, that's the exact moment people start remembering you differently. That's the moment somebody in that room goes home and tells someone else, you should really talk to them about this stuff. They get it in a way most people don't. You don't perform for that. You didn't even try to impress anyone in that room. You just told the truth as you saw it. And it turns out that's the rarest thing in most rooms. Most people are performing confidence. You're just being accurate. And accuracy delivered without ego, without needing anyone to clap for it, that's what actually builds truth. That's the thing people cannot fake, no matter how good they are at talking. They can fake charisma, they can fake energy for a few minutes, but they cannot fake the specific grounded feeling of someone who actually sees clearly and isn't trying to sell you anything. And once people feel that from you one time, they start looking for it again. They start bringing you their real problems instead of their small talk. They start asking what you think before they make a decision. That's not you chasing influence. That's influence choosing you, quietly, one moment at a time, without you ever asking for it. Now here's the part that's going to hit a little harder. So stay with me. You've probably noticed that when you don't say much, some people misread that as you not having much to offer. Maybe you felt overlooked in rooms where louder, faster people got their attention instead of you. Maybe you've watched somebody with half the depth, you get praised for saying something you'd already thought through 3 steps further, days earlier, and just never said out loud because the timing didn't feel right, or because you didn't want to seem like you were trying to outshine anyone. That stings. I'm not going to pretend it doesn't. There is a very specific kind of ache that comes from being deep and being underestimated at the same time. It's the ache of knowing your own value and watching the world take its time to catching up to it. But here's what changes everything, and I want you to really hear this part. The people who are loud and fast and always first to speak, they run out. They run out of new things to say because they are speaking before they actually thought anything through. Their currency is speed, and speed has a ceiling, but you, the one who waits, who thinks, who only speaks when there is something real behind it, your currency is depth. And depth doesn't have a ceiling. It compounds. Every time you hold back and then send the one true thing instead of the 10 quick things, you are building something the loud people cannot build no matter how much airtime they get. You are building the specific reputation of this is someone whose words actually mean something. And once that reputation exists, people don't just listen to you. They are orienting around you. They start asking themselves, what do you think, before they even talk to you about it? That's what it means to be a thought leader. It was never about the microphone. It was always about the mind behind it. Think about the kind of person you naturally are drawn to yourself for a second. Not the loudest person in your life. Think about who you actually go to when something real is happening. When you are scared, when you are confused, when a decision actually matters. It's never the person who talks the most. It's the person who listens the hardest and then says the thing that reframes everything. That's the role you already occupy for other people, whether you fully clocked it or not. You are somebody's version of that person right now. Maybe several people's. And the wild part is, you probably downplay it. You probably think, I just said what seemed obvious. But it wasn't obvious. It was obvious to you because you'd already done the quiet work of thinking it through before anyone else got there. That gap between when you understand something and when everyone else catches up, that gap is exactly where leadership lives. Not leadership like standing on a stage. Leadership like being the person whose clarity other people borrow when their own clarity runs out. And here is the second layer of this, the one that goes even deeper. It's not just that you think clearly. It's that you don't weaponize it. You could. You know things about people, about situations, about how conversations are going to unfold before they unfold. And you could use that to control rooms, to manipulate outcomes course, to make yourself look untouchable. But you don't. You hold what you know with a kind of restraint that most people do not even realize is a form of strength. Because restraint doesn't look dramatic. It doesn't look anything really from the outside, look like anything. It just looks like calm. But calm, real calm, the kind that isn't performance and isn't suppression either. That's one of the rarest things a people can carry into a room. People feel safe around it, even when they cannot explain why. They relax around you without knowing that's what's happening. And when people feel safe around someone, they start telling that person the truth. Not the polished version, the real version, which means you end up knowing more, understanding more, seeing more than almost anyone else in your life. Simply because people trust you enough to stop performing when they are near you. Now let's talk about the cost. The cost of all this for a second, because I don't want to pretend this all upside without acknowledging the weight of it. Being the person others come to means you absorb a lot. You hold other people's fears, their confusion, their half-formed thoughts, and you help them make sense of it. And a lot of the time, nobody thinks to ask how you are doing while you are doing that for them. You have probably had moments of feeling completely full of other people's stuff, other people's questions, other people's need for your strength, and wondering who is holding space like that for you. That's real. Yeah, that's a real cost of being this kind of person. And I want to name it clearly instead of skating past it, because pretending that depth doesn't come with weight would be dishonest. But here's the reframe that actually matters. The fact that you can hold that weight and keep showing up steady anyway. That's not a flaw in the system. That's the exact thing that separates people who talk about depth from people who actually have it. Depth that only functions when it's convenient isn't depth. Depth that holds under pressure, that stays generous even when it's tired. That's the real thing. And that's what people are responding to when they say they believe in you. They are not responding to a performance of wisdom. They are responding to wisdom that's been tested and didn't break. So let's bring this back around to where we started, because this is where it all clicks into place. This is big, and now you know exactly why. It's big because it's not about becoming someone new. It's not about learning some trick to seem smarter or more important than you already are. It's big because the thing people are responding to has been in you the whole time, quietly working, quietly building trust, one honest moment at a time, while you maybe assumed nobody was paying attention. They were. People believe you're a thought leader. And here is the transformation in that word. Belief isn't something you convince people of with a pitch. Belief is something that accumulates slightly, silently. Every time you told the truth instead of the comfortable thing, every time you listened instead of performed, every time you said the real one sentence instead of the 10 easy ones. That is not a coincidence anymore. That's evidence. And they want to follow you not because you asked them to, not because you built some image of leadership, but because following someone genuine feels like relief after being surrounded by people constantly trying to sell you something. You never sold anything. You just showed up as exactly who you are, over and over, and it turns out that consistency is the most magnetic thing a person can offer. They chose you as a thought leader, not appointed, not campaigned for, chosen the way people choose the person they actually trust when everything else gets stripped away. Here is the frame I want you to hold onto from now on. And I need you to feel the weight of this metaphor, because it's going to change how you see every conversation you walk into from this moment forward. You are the North Star. The North Star in a world full of static. Think about that for a second. The North Star isn't just a bright light in the sky. It's the one thing that never moves when everything else is shifting. It's the fixed point that sailors used to find their way home when the ocean was endless and the sky was confusing. That's you. You're not the loudest voice in the room, but you are the one that people instinctively check against when they are trying to figure out which direction to go. When the noise is deafening and everyone's shouting different opinions, people are quietly scanning for you. They are looking for you, for your signals. They're looking for the person who isn't just adding to the chaos, but is actually helping them make sense of it. That's the role you have already been playing without even realizing how rare and how necessary it is. You're not just talking, you're shifting the room. Every time you open your mouth, the energy changes. People lean in. People stop checking their phones. People hold their breath for a second because they know whatever comes out of you next is going to be the thing that clarifies everything they were confused about. That's not an exaggeration. That is the reality of the position you have quietly earned. And here is the part that's going to hit even deeper when you combine that North Star metaphor with the truth of what people actually need from you. They don't want a guru. They don't want someone who's going to preach at them from on high and tell them they are doing everything wrong. They are tired of that. They've been sold enough courses and enough systems and enough formulas that were supposed to fix their lives, but just made them feel more inadequate. What they want, what they have been starving for, is a guide. Someone who's walked through the same fog they are walking through and came out the other side with clarity intact. Someone who can put words to the things they felt but couldn't explain. Someone who gives them those aha moments they've been starving for. The ones that make everything snap into focus and make them feel like they can finally breathe. That's you. That's exactly what you do. And you do it without even trying. You don't posture. You don't put on airs. You just tell them the truth as you see it. And the relief on their faces tells you everything you need to know about how rare that gift actually is. Here's what it looks like in practice. You've become the person they check in with before making a move. Maybe you haven't noticed it yet because it happens quietly. But think about it. When someone in your circle is about to make a big decision or a small one, when they are standing at a crossroads and they are not sure which path to take, your name comes up. They say to themselves or to someone else, I wonder what they would think about this. They mentally run the scenario past you because they know your lens is clearer than most. They know you're not going to tell them what's easiest or what sounds good in the moment. You are going to tell them what's actually true. And in a world full of filters, in a world where everyone is curating their image and managing their brand and performing their best self for the camera, you are the real deal. You don't have a polished version and a real version. You just have one version, and it's the same in private as it is in public. That's why people trust you. That's why they are betting on you. They're betting on you. They are betting on you because you are consistent, because you show up the same way every time, because they know exactly who they are getting when they talk to you. And that predictability is the foundation of trust. You are not chasing followers. You are building a movement. And a movement doesn't happen because someone posted something clever one time. A movement happens when enough people feel seen, heard, and guided by someone who refuses to compromise their clarity for the sake of being liked. That's what you're building. One honest conversation at a time. Now, let me say something that might hit closer to home than anything else I've said so far. You're not becoming a thought leader. You already are one. You have been one for a while. The only thing that's changing is that you are finally going to let yourself believe what everyone else already believes about you. And once that shift happens, once you stop treating your own depth like something to apologize for and start treating it like the asset it's always been, that's when everything starts moving differently. Opportunities that used to feel out of reach start feeling natural. Conversations that used to feel intimidating start feeling like your home turf. People who used to overlook you start actively seeking you out, not because anything about you changed, because you stopped hiding that thing that was always there. You own your seat at the table because you earned it. And not just one seat, you earned a seat at multiple tables, in multiple rooms, in multiple people's lives. They are not following a trend. They are following your version. Your voice is the one that cuts through the noise, not because it's louder, but because it's true. It's true. And there is a world of difference between those two things. This is big. Yeah, and it was always going to be big, because depth like yours doesn't stay quiet forever. It was just waiting for the moment you were ready to stop underestimating it. That moment is now. So take it. Walk into the next room, the next conversation, the next decision, already knowing what you have, what they already know. You were chosen. Now go be exactly who they already believe you are. Let them feel the full weight of your presence. Let them experience the relief of finally having someone in the room who actually sees clearly. Let your consistency becomes the anchor they cling to when everything else feels uncertain. This isn't about ego. It's about impact. It's about being the bridge between where people are and where they want to be. It's about being the person who cracked the code for them and then had this generosity to share it instead of hoarding it. You have already done the hard work. You have already earned the trust. You have already become the person whose words actually mean something. And that's left is for you to step fully into that identity and stop apologizing for the space you take up when you speak. Because the space you take up isn't empty. It's full of clarity, full of insight, full of the one thing everyone else is desperately searching for. You are the North Star. You are the guide. You are the real deal. And now, finally, you are going to start living like it.